Yeah. Subscribe to the channel. The night lights of the big city did not please the eye. Inside the ambulance carriage, it was stuffy, and it was raining outside. In September, he gave out a hot, dusty, and the straight column of the thermometer did not want to crawl down. "Tanya, are you done for today?" asked the ambulance driver, Victor. The woman nodded. She sat next to the medical mask and crawled down. The doctor was skinny, with light short hair. Beautiful female features of the face slightly touched the age. Tatiana Chernova was. The day was crazy. The pandemic was getting worse, and we had to work faster, do more norms. But not only this made the doctor's work unbearable. Bureaucracy and suddenly change management, which needed only one thing, indicators. In combination with the growing number of severe patients, this made doctors work on wear and tear. Tatiana did not complain. She loved her job and sometimes forgot to eat, taking care of the health of patients. She was not always a doctor on the road. At one time, she took patients on the spot. People went to her in a crowd, feeling that she was really worried about her health. Tatiana could also listen to and advise her personal story. She approached her work in a comprehensive way. All the hooligans from the district went only to her. She did not scare them one more time, did not send them to unnecessary tests when it was already clear that they were not needed. Her knowledge in the field of medicine was reinforced by solid experience. She did not make rude mistakes because she understood that the doctor, like the sapper, had no right to do so. Tanya Chernova was loved by the team. She was very responsive, always ready to work on the holiday if necessary to replace colleagues. She didn't drink alcohol, and there was no one to celebrate with her. Work was her joy, her calling, and the meaning of life. Therefore, spending New Year's Eve in the hospital was more pleasant for her than a medicine in heaven. The last challenge for today was in the house, on the outskirts of the city. There, the man called the doctors because he felt bad. It turned out that he was just too nervous about work and the pressure dropped. Tatiana gave him the medication, asked in detail about why it all happened, how often it happened, and what other diseases there were. The man was a family feeder. His wife is disabled after the accident, 2 children. The job is good, in a rich farm, but he takes it all close to his heart, so the pressure is lowered. After the medication, he felt better. Tanya calmed him down, treated him, and told him not to worry. He was watching her with a huge smile and words of gratitude. Some people were, and looked as if he would fall unconscious from minute to minute. "Stop, stop," Tanya said demandingly. The driver obediently pressed the brake. "And where are you going? Are you crazy?" Victor asked, but Tatiana was already walking towards the crowd of guys. "Hey, let's get away from him," a skinny blonde in a white dress commanded. "So what?" One of the attackers laughed. At this moment, Victor showed up behind. He really didn't want to get wet, but he couldn't leave his doctor alone. Seeing a big man with a woman's back, the attacker stooped. Okay, we're leaving." Tatiana took the guy they attacked and brought to the ambulance. The man looked years old, unkempt, poorly thought out, and hardly stood on his feet. Yes, he must be just drunk. The driver, sitting back in the driver's seat. "No, he's not drunk, he's got a fever." The woman immediately realized that the guy was seriously ill. He was trembling, his head was terribly hot. A fresh scar was drawing on his forehead, which may have healed a month ago. It was too early to see that it was supposed to be sewn, but it was left unattended or sewn unprofessionally. "What's your name? What hurts?" Quickly measuring his temperature. The device showed degrees. Tatiana quickly started to give a heat-reducing injection. "I don't remember anything. I've been out for a long time, many days, probably a month or 2. I got sick, it was cold, and I got soaked." The man said it was hard, not related. He hardly focused his vision. He was in a dream. "Do you have money? Is there a place to stay overnight? Do you have any documents?" The guy shook his head. "I almost died. The homeless people came out. My head was pierced. I don't remember anything. And I don't know what my name is. But the wanderers call me Goa. I don't know why." Tatiana guessed. He looked like an actor who played Goa in the film Moscow with Tears Don't Believe. She gave him a shot. "Vitya, take me home. We'll go there, and I'll leave him with me. Let him take a shower. There are no documents in the hospital. They won't keep him anyway." The new boss won't let them, and they don't have much space. In the morning, they only put a man in the corridor. It's good that they have enough for now. Victor shook his shoulders and went to the doctor's house. He was silent all the way and dared to say only by stopping the car. You are a kind soul, but you can't do it like that. What if he kills you in your dream and steals it? He looks like someone else. Tanya smiled. You don't look like him. The thing is, you don't look like him. She got out of the car. The rain was still pouring down the puddles on the asphalt. Tatiana took the patient to her apartment, laid him on the couch, and ordered him to take a shower as soon as it gets easier. Sleep if you want. There is food in the refrigerator. Take it, don't be shy. The man frantically nodded, put his head on the couch, and closed his eyes. Hey, change your clothes, you can't be naked. Here are the things. She found old clothes in the closet that remained with her from the past. The man obediently sat down, but did not dare to start changing clothes with her. I'm going now, and you change your clothes, okay? Yes, thank you. Tatiana smiled. He is not an alcoholic or anything worse. She went out, got into the car. The motor was rumbling, and the ambulance carriage was driving along the meadows of the evening city. The main thing is that the boss does not find out that we were driving around the city. He says he is tracking where and what car. Tatiana sighed heavily, thinking about Boris Sergeyevich. Only now he was not enough. Victor parked the car, and Tatiana entered the hospital building to give up her shift. She said a few words to another crew and was going to go home, when suddenly a familiar male voice called her. Tatiana Pavlovna, come to me. She stopped and rolled her eyes. But then, she turned around and entered the boss's office. Behind a large wooden table was a short haircut complemented his usual image, making him flawless. But in appearance, the flawlessness ended. Everyone knew that Boris Sergeyevich was not the one to be put in charge of the clinic. He did not try for patients or workers, defending his reputation first of all. Power and money are everything that interested him. That is why his policy was progress. And it doesn't matter what price doctors had to pay for it. He demanded that they work faster, not with the patients, but only send them for an examination and make a conclusion. Tatiana Pavlovna scolded him many times for this. She knew how to treat people and did not tolerate interference in the work of bureaucrats. Where have you been the last minutes? The car was parked at your house. Did you go there on business? Or we use public transport for personal purposes. I did not expect such a kind-hearted worker from my hospital. This is not your hospital. It is state-owned. She sighed. There was no strength, no desire to argue with him. Maybe you'll try to save your situation? I save lives. Now I have one of the patients at home. He has no documents, so it was impossible to take him to the hospital. He is seriously ill, so if you don't mind, I'll go. You know, I swore and must save people, not to climb behind the boss. The man in a leather chair whistled from the last phrase. Brave but senseless. And I also doubted if you would be fired. Perhaps this time I will really fire you. There are no irreplaceable, you know. Tatiana sighed heavily. She realized that this would end as soon as she entered this office. Boris was only looking for an opportunity to get rid of her for the last 6 months since the time he was assigned here. Do whatever you want. I need to treat the person. And you know, I'll make it easier for you. She came to the table, took a clean sheet of paper from his printer, and put her signature at the bottom. Print a statement of your own will, or fire her according to the article, as you deem fit. She went out the door and heard in the corridor. By the article, only by the article. On the way home, Tanya remembered how she first saw this bureaucrat at work. He came to her office and began to explain why it was not allowed to take her with the patients for so long. Tatiana tried to explain that it was not allowed to draw conclusions without gathering information about the patient, and this takes time. It is necessary for the person to explain what happened to him, why, what other diseases he had or were. After all this can affect. This is the only way to treat people. If you only rely on the indicators of the analyses, you can make a serious mistake. And the list of analyses also needs to be correctly selected so as not to miss important indicators. For some patients, to get better, you just need to go on a diet, stop drinking, smoking. For some people, stop being nervous. Others need to be replaced with an incorrectly designed drug. All this is revealed in the conversation. Someone has a very difficult period in life and needs help from a psychologist. Sport cures thousands of diseases. It is necessary to understand whether a person is moving enough. Hypodynamics causes a bunch of diseases, disability, and people confuse it with real physical ailments and take pills. Tatiana explained all this to her boss, and he laughed at her, saying that statistics are more important. You just need to give up your business more and behave less with everyone. You are not my nanny, he said to her. You. She corrected and put Boris out of her office. Since that day, they have been at war. Moreover, everyone hated Boris, but only Tatiana could tell him everything she thought. He openly said that he would fire her at the first opportunity, and Tanya shook her shoulders. Who worked in a private clinic. If she had received more, she would have worked less. But Tatiana didn't want money. She wanted to help ordinary people, and she liked her job. Recalling all the contacts with Boris, she sped up until she got home. Of course, there were doubts. What if this guy really turned out to be a thief and had already taken out all the valuables from her apartment? Tatiana opened the door with a key and caught him sleeping. She touched his head. Ha! Very. Damn, the injection still has to work. She woke the boy up and started to carry out all the necessary measures. She injected him with an antibiotic, a shock dose, gave him pills, sprays to remove local. As soon as the temperature dropped, Gogo went to the shower and came out with a shaved face. Totally unlike a homeless person. I used a razor. My beard smelled bad. Well done. Everything is fine. How are you feeling? To be honest, I feel very bad. I'll lie down, okay? She nodded, and the man lay on his sofa. He didn't eat, only drank water, because Tatiana insisted on drinking. When he fell asleep, she received a message from She found out that Boris really fired her on the article for the state funds. He added to the report of the pandemic that doctors are not enough, and Chernova went home by car from the call at work. And it doesn't matter that she drove the patient to her, since the new head doctor forbade people to be taken to the hospital without documents. She only sighed, opened the window, and looked into the distance. The rain was still pouring. The cold has been relieved. It has become easier. Well, let it be, she said in a whisper. She knew that she had done the right thing and could try to prove her right, but decided that she would leave. According to the article or not, the sister would take her to her. She was the owner's wife at a private clinic, and Boris was already tired of her. But it was a pity to say goodbye to the team, to the people she came to the calls with, to the patients. Tatiana was immersed in her memories. How long ago was the last time a man lay on her couch? It seems it was 100 years ago, but it was... She had just started working in this hospital. The main doctor was the beautiful Galina Vasilievna. She adored her work and worked until the very last day. She died almost a year ago, right at work during the lunch break. But when Tanya just came to work, they didn't care. It was a completely different life. The hospital is a small organism. Everything interacts in it, and the quality of the patient's treatment depends on its health. When Galina Vasilievna and the doctors went to work with joy, and Tatiana, looking at her, also wanted to love her business and help everyone. Then she met a nice cardiologist. He was tall, stately, and all nurses died on him without any attraction, and not only in his ward. However, Dmitri was cold and affectionate. Tatiana didn't look at him, and he probably wanted a woman to stay in the hospital who wouldn't lie on his feet. There were rumors that he was sleeping with his female colleagues, but he did this only after he warned that the case would not go further than a bed. Yes, yes, no, no. Many agreed, secretly hoping to become special to him. But Dmitri was faithful to his word. When he began to look after Tanya, all the young nurses looked at her like wolves. Galina Vasilievna, seeing how Dmitri was looking after her, warned her about him. Tatiana Pavlovna, I look at you, our Dima from cardiology, so to speak. I think he's just a lover. Tanya was embarrassed. Galina Vasilievna sighed. I don't mind. In our hospital, you know how many people got married. I'm only for it. Create a family, be happy. But a family is not about Dima. He is not serious. He is a womanizer. And you are a new fortress for him, which he is storming. Only after capitulation, he always leaves. And there are tears, whispers, and statements of dismissal. I already made him a remark once. He, after that incident, died as dust. You are a good doctor, and I don't want to lose you because of him. Tanya nodded. I understand. Thank you for worrying. I will be careful. Tanya left, and Dima, with a bouquet of rosaries, was waiting for her at the door. Galina Vasilyevna, seeing them in the window, just shook her head, foreseeing the coming collapse. Dmitri, realizing that Tanya is not one of those who will jump into bed to the first person he meets, began to treat her. The nurses were divided by jealousy, and Tanya wrote notes to make them fight and openly expressed her dissatisfaction and jealousy. Everyone envied her. Of course, this was a favor to her female self-esteem. She got a prize, what everyone wanted. Dima was a wonderful prince, and Tanya was already going to marry him. However, her mother Dmitri did not like her from the very beginning, but she did not live in this city, only came to see her son once a month. So her displeasure did not cause serious concern. Tanya was in the seventh heaven. Dima turned out to be a gorgeous hiker. He gave flowers, prepared surprises. He did everything for her that no one had ever done before, and she parted with him. But as soon as the cherished 3 words sounded, he lost interest. Tanya began to notice his cold. The man began to cancel the date, stopped seeing him off. Let's live together, Tatiana suggested. Dima was angry, agreed, but said that it would be necessary to wait a little. He did not name the reasons. Tanya did not understand why to wait. Here he is, here she is, and she sincerely did not understand why he began to treat her with a slap. This is a crisis of relations. He happens to everyone. The woman thought and endured. The more Tanya tried, the stronger Dima was. It became more difficult to concentrate at work. Personal troubles inevitably reflect what you are doing. Dima began to visit her less and less often. At first, they loved to sit on the same couch in the hallway and watch movies together. There were so many pleasant memories on this very couch. No matter how many curses and words he uttered there. The day when the lover broke up with her, Tanya did not cry and did not worry. She understood that they needed a break. Dima said that he wanted to be alone, that he needed time. But the hospital can't keep secrets. As soon as Tatiana put that fact in her head that they would not meet with Dima for some time, the news of the pregnancy of the nurse of the cardiology department spread through the hospital. The most beautiful nurse in the hospital, without exaggeration. They are not young enough for years. She just came here and is already in a position. The hospital was buzzing. Dima is getting married to her. This is his child. Hearing how the senior nurse of therapy was being interrogated on the post, Tanya ran to her office to cry. Pregnant. So at least 2 weeks have passed. It was simply impossible to find out before. And their relationship with Dima ended only a couple of days ago. So all this time he was meeting not only with her. She cried so bitterly that she forgot where she was. Of course, this happened after work and the department was empty. And only the eternal maid Galina Vasilyevna, bypassing her possessions, entered Tanya's office. She, it seems, was not even going home. Sometimes Tanya thought that Galina Vasilyevna lived in the hospital and never left. I heard what happened. I warned you, my grief. With a beautiful lipstick and chemistry on her light hair, approached Tatiana and began to stroke her head. He told me only this week that we were breaking up and that his Dasha was pregnant. So he had been with her for a long time. He was lying to me, betrayed me, and I did not notice anything. I did not see further from my nose, but you told me, and I did not listen, fools. Galina Vasilyevna sighed and silently sat next to her while Tanya was crying. The next day, Tatiana brought a resignation letter. Don't sign it. Bring it back from where you took it. You will work here. I need you. Galina Vasilyevna strictly said. Tanya in tears. I give you 3 days. Go home. Come to work on Thursday, and you will work here. Believe me, everything will be fine. You didn't listen to me then. Listen now. Okay. Tanya believed her. She couldn't imagine how she would work in this hospital, how she would see Dasha with her belly every day, as if she was spitting a horn. Tanya. It seemed to her that everyone here is already pointing fingers at her. How much she was envied at first when Dima was with her. Now everyone is laughing at her. Tatiana went home and spent 3 days just sitting on the same sofa, trying to realize that Dima in her life. We'll never be there again. Everything was a lie, and she got caught like a schoolgirl. When Tatiana returned to work, the corridors were full of bustle. Everything was as usual. She did not bother Galina Vasilievna anymore. She just went to her room. It was scary to appear in the dining room. She was afraid to meet Dima and Dasha, the snoring doves. But Tanya went there, made herself. One of the nurses immediately sat down to her. Don't worry, Tanya. We all went through it. Dima is just a man, not very good. And believe me, no one is looking at you, Kosa. Everyone has their own story here. And half of us are connected to this same Dima. But now that's it. Now he won't be here. So don't be afraid and don't worry. And you can always count on me. And on any girl here. You're a good doctor. Galina Vasilievna really values you. Tanya didn't know what to say and just nodded. Only then did she find out that Galina Vasilievna had made Dasha translate, and Dima just snuck out of her head. She said that he would be fired if Tanya still wanted to leave. Relationships at work violate ethics, and how he behaves with women is simply outrageous. He wrote a statement himself. She had another conversation with Dasha. Galina Vasilievna had connections all over the city, and she managed to transfer her work to a hospital that was closer to her home. Dasha was a good girl and understood that her presence would be unpleasant to the one who was deceived by her by Dima. She did not immediately realize that he met with them both. But pregnancy did not allow her to simply break up. In addition, she was in love with him like everyone else. So she agreed to transfer to minimize the number of conflicts and unpleasant meetings. No one dared to talk to Galina Vasilievna, despite her kindness. Tatiana was peeing near the window. After her story with Dima ended, she stopped believing men and dedicated herself to her work. And so, after so many years, there was a guest on her couch again. But this is not at all the same, of course. This is the same work that she took home. The woman changed her clothes and lay on the bed without disassembling her. She turned off instantly. The dismissal brought her rather relief than disappointment. How long could you endure a rude attitude? And don't care about quality. Don't care that patients, when they are not doing anything, have a tendency to die. And why are those like him always in the ranks of the managers? How was Galina Vasilievna not enough? Tatiana woke up in the morning and approached Gogi. She touched his forehead and realized that the situation was bad. The guy has a strong fever. What should I do with you? She whispered. He was in a mess. Tatiana measured the temperature. She gave him an injection, drank it. The man did not understand. He will not be admitted to the hospital. She did not want to go there and ask. And who will help her? Boris will not allow a wanderer to go there at a time when there is not enough space for patients with polis. In addition, the guy's lungs were clean. She listened to him. I have to deal with it myself. She soldered him, made him a heat-reducing injection, and put the packets of ice wrapped in a towel in the armpits and the knee. The man with dark brown hair and beautiful wide eyebrows said something unrelated. Call him. Low Sergey. Sergey Low. He will not refuse. Please, he will help. Call Low Sergey. Tatiana thought that perhaps this name would help her to remember something later. The next 2 days, Tanya did not leave Goj. She sat next to him, beating down the temperature that crawled up. The antibiotic began to work only by the end of the 3rd day. The fever fell under the influence of the medicine and did not return. Goj mostly drank water, was shy to eat, was afraid to disturb Tanya one more time. She saw his trait and was convinced in her right. He is not a bum or a maniac. He is just a man with whom trouble happened. By the end of the 3rd day, Gogo went to the shower, came out of there clean and tidy. Weakness after a severe illness did not let go. He immediately lay on his sofa, noticing that Tanya had changed her clothes. Thank you for saving me. If possible, I will lie down for another day and leave. I feel so awkward that I signed you here. Tatiana surprisingly raised her eyebrows. And where are you going, you unwell? To the street? To die of pneumonia in a week? Go, don't worry, I live alone. It's my duty to help people, and I do it with pleasure. I will help you too. Tomorrow I have an interview, and then I will go to the precinct and look for a person named Lov Sergey. Who is this? Go was surprised. You were repeating this name as a prayer when you had a high fever. Probably someone from your relatives. Goga strained his memory. There was a solid, clear sheet in his head. Nothing. I don't remember. I don't even know how to thank you. I think I can cook. Can I ask you? He asked. Of course. Let me make a dinner for myself. I'm ashamed that I eat and live with you. I should be the one to earn, not sit on a woman's neck. Tanya looked at him with a smile, thinking, Who brought you up so well, Goga? She asked. The next day, Tatiana had an interview in the clinic, took the documents from Boris. He was generous and allowed her to write a statement of her own will. They say it's Victor, the driver, came to him and said that they would knock him out of the whole house if he fired Tanya on the article. Vidya was secretly in love with her. He worked with her for many years, and as soon as she was fired, he also filed a complaint. After learning about this, Tatiana sighed. It's a pity to lose such loyal colleagues, caring and understanding. It was a pity to part with the team, but there was nowhere to go. Boris just didn't leave her a choice. After the interview in the clinic where her sister worked, Tanya asked for a 2-week suspension. She received a bill and could afford a rest. In addition, it was necessary to understand who the guy who settled on her couch was and help Goj heal him. Major Medvedev worked in the local police department. He was her old friend. A very long time ago, when Tanya was just starting to work, she came to him for a call. However, as soon as Tatiana entered the house, she realized the reason. It was a gas leak. His wife and child were in the house. They were sleeping. They said that they were very sleepy. The gas was not felt. Mikhail Medvedev decided that he had a pressure drop and called the doctor. When Tanya arrived, he could barely breathe, not understanding what was happening. She took him out, woke up his wife and child. Fortunately, it was not too late yet. They were conscious, but the poisoning was very serious. The leak was small, imperceptible, and the case was in winter. All the windows were closed, the exhaust was clogged like mad, and she saved everyone's lives. And now, when Misha saw her on the street, he stopped and brought her to work. He was always interested in how she was doing and was ready to help in any case. Full gray hair, with a very charming smile. Hello, Misha. Tatiana entered his office, and he shone by inviting her to sit down. Tanya told him the story of Gugi and asked him to find a man named Lo Sergey and find out if any of his acquaintances had disappeared. Tatiana especially took a photo of her patient and sent it to his major. He promised to help. After that, the woman went to the store and bought some of the products. And when she returned, she did not recognize her apartment. Goga made a perfect order there. He cleaned the floor, carpets, washed the laundry, and cooked dinner. Not just dinner. It smelled like an expensive restaurant. Tatiana was eating poorly. She did not spoil herself with food. There was no time to cook. Goga, you are just a wizard. I don't know what I can do like that. I started and realized that I can do it. You know how strange it is. I remember the recipes of the dishes, but I don't remember who I am. Tanya looked at his scar. It happens. You know, it doesn't matter if you remember. The main thing is to find you. Your loved ones will remind you. And if memory doesn't come back, they will tell you. Fill the gaps. It's a good chance to start all over again. Forget about the past, you know? Maybe life didn't give you this chance for nothing. I'm not always happy with memories. You're right, but I would like to remember. After all, I've never lived on the street, and I know what a coriander and a turmeric are, and where to put them, in what proportions. I'm not one of those who will be bummed out, but I had no choice. I don't remember the first days when I woke up. Gina found me in the dumpster. I was very sick. I was dehydrated. I drank, but it immediately went out. My head hurt like hell, and there was a fever. All the time the blood flowed from the wound, and I didn't understand anything. I couldn't even say a word. Gina brought me to some basement. There was a clean sofa, and there I lived the first days. He sewed the wound for me himself. It was very painful. Then I poured vodka on her, and I got rid of the pain. He tied my head with some rags and poured vodka again. He always had it. They drank with other wanderers. When I was offered, I refused. I felt bad, probably because of the shock. I only ate bread, and they had nothing else. I ate bread and drank water. When I felt better, I went to the station. But where I was, they refused everywhere. Nobody helps people like me. I smelled the vodka, and God knows what else. I started to work. I was working in the yard of the employee. He got sick. I was taking money for myself. So I lived all this time. I slept on the street. I left the homeless. It's not the best company, but they saved me. I sometimes bought them food, brought them when there was money left. I bought clothes in secondhand. That's how I lived. I grabbed for any work, but I didn't ask for help anymore. No one wanted to help, except you. And so I got sick a week ago. At first, I carried everything on my feet, but soon I fell asleep. It was bad at all. I bought medicine for the last money, antibiotics. I drank them, but there was nothing to eat. I got a stomachache. I didn't eat anything for 3 days and already thought I was going to die. My throat hurt. It was very bad. I don't even remember where I was going when those guys attacked me. They demanded my money, and I said that there was none. They were drunk and wanted to beat me, but seeing how I was, they took me for an alcoholic. Nobody in their head knew that I was sick. I would have died that night if it weren't for you. Tanya nodded. Perhaps it depends on the body. Sometimes he just needs to burn the infection, and it raises the temperature. Do you like it or not? And you don't really carry it very well, as I understand. But you really had a very high fever. Very high. I was scared myself on the verge of death. But there was nothing to do, and I was fired from the hospital. Because of me? God, because of me you have such problems? Gogo grabbed his head. Don't worry. It's not because of you. It's just that the new boss is incompetent. He was just waiting for a reason to fire me. But I've already found a new job. I am a doctor, and doctors are always needed. I will not disappear. After dinner, Gogo washed the dishes and lay down. He still had a weakness. His heart was pounding, he was sweating. The consequences of the disease. He lay down and fell asleep because he was whining all day at home. The whole next day, Tanya and Gogo spent together. Tatiana found out that the wanderer she adopted can quote Brodsky, remembers many films, and knows the teachings of Sigmund Freud well. This said that Go is a man with a good education, well-read. His manners talked about intelligence and his ability to fix the socket for having golden hands. He repaired the doors of the lockers that were loose, repaired the plastic door that was wedged. They talked about musical tastes. Gogo didn't remember what music he had listened to before. Tanya, to help him remember, included different songs. But it didn't help. Gogo could remember how the verse of the next song begins, but under what circumstances he had heard it before, he didn't remember. As if there is a barrier inside the head, separating one part of the memory from the other. He remembered how to use a knife and a fork. But who taught him to do this did not know. Tanya, looking at him, did not stop to be surprised. He had been helpless until the heat had gone down. After that, he began to put everything around in order. He was not lazy. He took up any business, whether it was washing or repair. And also, Gogo was very funny, making Tanya smile. A week later, the man finally recovered. Tatiana was preparing to go to work in a few days. A new clinic, a more modest work schedule, and a higher salary. Isn't that a joy? But the main thing is how her eyes shone when she looked at the Gogo. There was some kind of touching wound care, a sense of reliability. He was not one of those who ran after every skirt. All his words and actions said how right and decent he was. However, Gogo repeatedly said that living on a woman's neck would not even be at risk of death. Therefore, he began to look for a job, went to interviews everywhere where documents were not asked. Tanya was glad that he appeared in her life. It was even more difficult to hide the feelings that had appeared. Gogo was delicate and modest. Sometimes she caught his eyes, but he dared not show feelings. That day it was raining outside. The phone rang for the third time. Tanya just came out of the shower and took the phone. Gogo left in the morning. Today he had to try himself as a bodyguard. Tanya, you won't get through. I wanted to warn you. There is one man coming to you. What? Who is coming to me? Tanya didn't understand what it was about. She looked at the phone screen. It was Mikhail. Tanya, you're driving low, Sergey. Remember, you asked me to find him. Is your bum still with you? Yes. So, Tanyush, I looked around the city and couldn't find anyone who could know something. I called several single names, and then I started looking in the neighboring city. There, the local judge's son disappeared. The son's name is Vyacheslav Low. Sergey, his father. The family is very rich and influential. The father never took bribes, was honest and unobtrusive. once he was tried to bribe. The situation was serious, and the case reached the kidnapping of his son. I do not know how it happened, but the kidnappers were caught when they allegedly killed him. However, they said that they cremated the guy, and the ashes were blown away. The evidence was provided by a chain. The judge was displeased, and nothing happened after that. And then you say that you found the guy. You know, I sent him a photo, and he cried in the phone. I had to give you your address. Don't worry, it's not a criminal. I gave your home address to a very respected person. He will come soon. After the conversation, Tatiana sighed. She had just begun to build some plans, to imagine how Goga would meet her at work, how they would continue to watch films together. After all, they had made a plan for the films for a week in advance. And now it turns out that they will take it. And he's not a Gogo. He's Slava. What a confusing story. Tanya put the kettle on and got ready to meet the guests. She added the chamomile, admiring the sea of tears and excitement. Soon they called the door. She hoped it would be a Gogo, and she had to tell him a lot. Where is he? Where is my son? A beautiful black-haired woman cried. Come on in, he'll be here soon. A tall, stately man and his beautiful wife entered the apartment. Tanya sat them down at the table, telling them how it all happened. Show me the photo. Show me, I have to make sure it's him, the woman asked. Tanya showed the picture, which she had already seen. The photo was taken here, on this sofa. Goga was still ill then. Who? Surprisingly, brunette through her eyebrows. That's how he called himself. He doesn't remember his name. He was called a bum. Judge Sergei Lov was a gray-haired, tan man with a wavy face. The beauty of his wife, Vera, was very thin, fragile. She was over, but she looked just gorgeous for her age. Natural age changes did not spoil her, but only added elegance. Soon they called the door. Tanya went to open the door, and his mother cried again. Hello, you have a guest, said Anagoga. I have. Who else can look for me except the homeless? He smiled, passing inside. Seeing Vera Loeva's son, she got up from her seat, ran up to him, and hugged him. Father also joined them. Do you remember who I am? Vera asked, slightly calmed down. You are my mother. I remember. I remembered everything as soon as I saw you. He looked at Tanya and said, Tanya, I think I've deceived you. I'm not a Gogo. My name is Slava. Tanya also watched over her emotions. She fed everyone with dinner, for which Father Vyacheslav told how everything happened. My job requires caution, and I have always shown it. I try to be honest and open. Never took justice as a principle and never took money from those who tried to buy off their sons. But the case was much more serious. The daughter of a rich uncle of a local criminal authority beat up a single schooler. They did not share a guy. He chose another one, and this envy and anger beat her up in front of others. And no one took action. The beaten-up girl went to the hospital. She had serious injuries. It will be restored for several years. You can't imagine how she made her angry. Oh my God! Did no one stop the fight? Tanya was surprised. She was so angry that the girls didn't dare to come. The guys ran after the teacher. Some guy tried to stop her, but she hit him with a club that broke his fingers on his leg. He hit his face, raised his beaten girlfriend, and took her away. They called an ambulance. The girl came to her senses only on the second day. Her parents were hysterical, and the dad of this hooligan began to threaten them not to write a statement. They recorded a threatening phone call and came to the police. Honestly, this criminal authority committed a lot of crimes, even sad. But after all, he returned to his business. He trades with forbidden money. Everyone knows this, but they can't prove it. And then his daughters are in real time. And there is something for it. A decent father would not have bought it. How will she live on? She must see the borders, understand that such things will definitely be punished. I talked to him about it when he tried to bribe me, but did not reach out. As a result, I refused the bribe and said that everything would be fair. And he said that he had kidnapped my son and would kill him if I didn't give in and wouldn't let his daughter get away with it. Slava was in the mountains back then, and it was impossible to check it. I thought he was bluffing, was sure, and didn't say anything to believe that she wouldn't get nervous. I ignored his messages and threats. His daughter was sentenced to years in prison. The case was made public, and Slava didn't contact anyone. I began to worry, and then this criminal authority called and said that I would never see my son again. I was sent a carbonated chain with a cross by mail. They said that this is all that survived when he cremated him. Alive. My father's voice was trembling, tears flowed. I only then realized that everything was really happening. I opened the message and saw a video there. They really kidnapped Slava, and I wanted to be honest, so I made a mistake. I took the records to the police, but it was impossible to tie the incident to the criminal. The phone was disposable. There was no voice on the records, only text. My son was declared a missing person. Faith left me. I thought I would die of pain and repentance. Sergei's wife took him by the hand. Slave was surprised. I left him, but I realized that I would not survive the grief alone and return in a couple of weeks. You were even put in a grave. We were sure that you were not there. How did you survive? What did they then cremate? Slave was sight. Those memories had just opened up to him, and he realized that this was the most terrible thing he had ever gone through in his life. I was kept in the basement. They fed me just a couple of times so that I wouldn't die. They put water in the bucket and left for a day or two. I couldn't get out of there. No way. What have I done? This is the highest human power. One day they brought a stranger there. He was blabbering something. He begged not to kill them. He said he would return the debt. But they were ungrateful. They left the body there. They wrapped it in a mattress. They said they would come for him soon. Then the father of this mad girl who had not beaten her opponent to death came there. A local businessman. Everyone knew him. He said that my father had put his daughter in jail, and I would die for that. I was powerless and prepared for death. He hit me in the face. Then again. Then he took some kind of iron and hit her on the head. It seemed to me that I heard my skull crack. I fell, but for some reason did not disconnect. It was dark in my eyes. He thought I was dead, and he pierced my hand with his foot. His assistants wrapped me in garbage bags and left. They said I needed to be cremated. I didn't see well, and I barely thought about the pain. I put a wound on my head so as not to bleed, and I exchanged places with the body of the shot man. I packed him in bags, and I smeared my head with blood. I put my chain on him. I turned into the carpet and fell out. I woke up when I was lifted and taken to the car. I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything, and soon I flew into the river. After the fall, I got out of the carpet. The carpet was not tightened. They were sure that this corpse was no longer alive. They shot him in the head. The carpet was needed only for convenience, to swing around, probably. So I understood. I got out to the shore. And then my powers were gone. I remember how I walked, how I got to the dumpster. I couldn't think of anything. Probably the hematoma grew in my head. I had a huge bump here. Internal bleeding should have been there too. I don't know how I didn't die immediately and why I didn't fall out. I was saved. These people are absolutely ruthless. I don't know how much I was unconscious. I remember that I saw and heard badly, could not speak in a proper way. A wanderer found me, but you probably know what happened next. Tanya saved me. Having spoken until the deep night, the loaves gathered at home. We are going home. We are going home. You must have missed us terribly, smiled at Sergei, thanking Tatiana for a delicious dinner and for saving his son. At that moment, she thought he was saying goodbye to her. Her heart froze in her chest. She wanted to cry, but she didn't do it on people. Usually. Thank you for everything. I owe you forever. Write me your number. I'll call you. Slava asked. Tanya wrote her phone number on the paper and gave it to him. At that moment, when their hands touched, both looked into each other's eyes. Tanya understood. He also felt something, but after she was sure that Dima would marry her, she just couldn't believe her instincts. He looked at Little. Who knows what these men have in mind? They say one thing, they do something completely different. Tanya walked the reunited family of the Luvies, closed the door behind them, and looked at her sofa. Now he will be standing here alone again. And no one will fall asleep and wake up on it. Perhaps today I will stay here. She lay on the couch and hid in a simple blanket. She wanted to cry like she was angry. It was cool in the room, quiet, dark. She lay and guessed when she would see him next time. Perhaps she will not see him anymore. And what did you want? You're a doctor. Are patients obliged to visit you after you have treated them? She asked herself and decided that she would no longer take up work at home. The next day, Tanya went to work. She decided that there was no need to stay at home anymore. It became quiet and empty there again. The light. And asked Tatiana to get to the former workplace. Why? Tanya was surprised. She wrote a statement and took the labor. What else does this greedy, insolent Kharkov need? I don't know. The head called. Oh, you won't believe it. The very tops called. Something terrible is happening there. Smoke is standing in the way. Just go, and then just call me back. Tanya took off her robe and drove to the former workplace on the route. The premonition was bad, just terrible. Did Boris still decide to fire her on the spot? Tanya, they are waiting for you in the head office, said the senior nurse in the department. What happened? She asked, but the nurse only shook her shoulders. Tatiana entered the office. There was a man of 5. Boris was sitting on the couch, not raising his head. Major Medvedev, a friend of hers, was sitting at his table. There is a matter, not a false one, and only you, it seems, can help us. Tatiana was scared. She thought that Boris wanted to hang something from her. Boris didn't raise his head and didn't look at her. She nodded, not understanding anything. The men hurried to get ready. Boris left the office. The box with his things was already in the corner. Tatiana was given instructions. The salary was discussed. What happened? I don't understand anything. Why me? She asked. When did they and the ministry staff remain alone? Boris exceeded his powers. We talked to Victor, your driver. He told us how it was. You saved a man, brought him home, and left. And it wasn't just a bummer. It was the son of a very influential man. Very. I'm his debtor myself. And half of our city came across one way or another, even though he's from the neighboring city. You know, Sergei Lov asked you to appoint me? Tatiana was surprised. No. He asked me to restore justice. He said I should sort it out as it was. And I did. I talked to his son, your driver, and every employee of this hospital. They all wanted to see you at the post of the head, and your senior is solid. You can take shifts to hire people. I heard you like your job. And the secretary will help you sort things out. It's not that hard, believe me. It's an increase, plus a salary. You want a reliable person to be in charge of your favorite hospital, who thinks about the health of patients, not about the indicators, asked gray-haired and skinny man in a gray suit. Tanya nodded. Do you want to do well? Do it yourself. This is my motto in life. Tatiana Chernova took the offer and took the post of the head of the hospital. It's just incredible. Amazing. When everyone left and it got dark outside, Tanya got up because of a large wooden table. Galina Vasilievna, I won't let you down. I will lead the hospital the way you did, and I will try to be worthy of this position. She whispered. Doctors are not superstitious in nature because they have to deal with bodies, not souls. But Tanya believed that a person had a soul. There must be a soul, if so. That the soul of the deceased at the work of Galina Vasilievna could well be here all this time. Whatever it was not given to know. Tatiana went home, slurred on the bed. She called her sister's brother, who so kindly offered her a job, and apologized, explaining the situation. The day was just crazy. Father Slava was really a judge from God, if he wished to restore justice in this matter. Yeah, it's so great when it all ends like that. Probably justice is a very important thing, which places everything in its place. Tatiana opened the door with her key, entered the empty apartment, and hardly breathed. Hello. It was somewhere close. Tanya whistled and hurriedly hit the switch. The light lit up. A meter away from her was Slava with a bouquet of flowers. Tanya was breathing heavily after the fright. Slava came closer to her. Sorry, I didn't want to scare you like that. I wanted to surprise you, but now I understand how stupid it is. It's okay, I've calmed down. I'm glad for you. Let's have some tea with Valerian, shall we? She suggested, remembering that a mouse hung in her refrigerator. Since Slava left, she has switched back to poor nutrition. Boiled eggs, potatoes, sausages, semi-finished products. And vegetable mix. Tanechka, I cooked dinner at home and brought it here in containers. I didn't have time to tell you anything then. Let me feed you and we'll talk. Tanya was tired and nodded. She went to the shower, changed into a home dress, and Slava warmed up delicious food, and they sat down at the table. You didn't even know that you saved the cook. I have my own restaurant, but in the neighboring city. My family lives there. That's why you cooked so well. Tanya smiled while tasting the food. Everything was really delicious. Slava poured a good wine, and Tanya ruined it. Why not? Remember I told you about the bum who got my head? So he and all their companies are now undergoing a rehabilitation course. They have been coded, treated, they are made documents and ready places to work. Will they live in the dorm? Work on the railroad. The guys got good ones. One of them has to retire. So my father dug up his old documents, found an old man, and now they will pay him a pension. They are so grateful. They hugged me and my father. That's how it happens, can you imagine? My father says that no one has ever thanked him like these men. They needed help a little, but there was no one. And he is very grateful to you. And Mom too. And me. Tanya smiled. From gratitude to feeling of debt is one step. You understand, it was my duty. I saw a man who was sick and in danger. I just healed you. I swore. And I would save anyone else who was in your place. This is my job. You and your family owe me nothing. But I am grateful that you took Boris off. I don't know if I will be a good replacement for him. But this man clearly didn't take his place. It would be better for him not to go to the medical field. A smile crawled out of Slava's face. He stopped eating. Tanya realized that her words had touched him. But it's true. She was just doing her job as a doctor, and at that moment she didn't think about anything else. You really don't understand that I love you? He asked, looking into her eyes. Tanya raised her eyebrows in surprise. It sounded like thunder in the clear sky. Wow! She wasn't sure that he liked it. And he? What? You love? Maybe you're just confusing it with a sense of gratitude? Understand, I won't bet my money on my sofa. I'm embarrassed. No one from your family owes me anything. I'm a doctor. Understand, we are not thanked like that. A simple thank you is enough. Gratitude to the doctor is a bribe. We do it because it is our calling. That's all. Slava got up at the table, came up to her, sat down on her feet, and put her head on her knees. Tanya was offended. What is he doing? I don't believe you didn't feel anything for me. I was not in the position to talk about feelings. I couldn't. It would be unfair. As if I'm forcing you to stay with me, so that you don't walk me out on the street. But now I can tell you honestly, you are my woman. I didn't love anyone like that. And you didn't have a girlfriend? He was still sitting next to her on the floor, and she was looking at him from top to bottom. There was, and there is, but I realized that we are not a couple. She is rich, stupid, and egotistical. We were even engaged. But I already broke up with her. It doesn't matter. Tanya got up from the chair and left the kitchen. It was necessary to bring the thoughts in order. She went into the living room and saw a sofa there. The pictures from the past flashed before our eyes. Dima was on this very couch. Then she was crying for him here. Then the year of loneliness. Then the unshaved, very sick Go-Go. And now he is already healthy. And now he is not Go-Go, but Slava. His farewell look when his parents took him. Anna thought that she was crazy. That only she had feelings for him. When he left, she didn't think that he would come back. She made herself believe that she had just come up with everything, and there was nothing between them. Simple communication. And he turns out to be just too afraid to impose himself, being homeless. And why was she scared? Tanya turned around and suddenly entered the kitchen. Slava was tired, sad, not understanding why she was behaving like that. It's mutual, she said, coming closer. What? He smiled. It was mutual. He kissed her, and that night he didn't go home. That night was unforgettable, incredible, full of adventures and experiences. Yes, that's right. They watched a movie, the one they planned to watch before he left home. Tatiana and Slava became a couple officially. His parents were not afraid of him. They felt a great sense of gratitude. For her father and mother, Tanya was a proven person. She has already proved that she has a complete set of moral qualities. She will not give up easily, even if you look like a homeless person. She will help everyone she can and will do everything. Sergei, when he learned that Slava and Tanya decided to be together, watched him. He dreamed of this since the day he came to her apartment to pick up his son. It is not scary for such a girl to trust her child. And Mother Sergei couldn't dream of a better bride. The girl Slava met before had a scandal. After the man broke up with her, she came home to them. It so happened that at that time Tanya was visiting them. The girl arranged a scene, told Tanya about the filth, said that only her mother was weak, and he was out of pity for her. She was very beautiful, well-groomed. Ladaka, out of pity, you can only be with someone pitiful, with someone like you. Bite your tongue, and don't dare to talk to my future wife like that. From the offense, the blonde flew out of their house like a sparrow, knocking on all the doors that met her, including the door of her own car. You didn't get offended, Slava asked, scared that Tanya would be scared off by her words. No, I'm a doctor. The girl was emotional. I understand what she feels, and I'm sorry it turned out like that. I'm really sorry. Slava hugged her. You're the best. Don't feel sorry for Luda. She cheated on me with my friend. I found out this the day I was kidnapped. She will probably go to him now. You're so bad, Tanya. And don't say it. I have someone like you and your parents. In fact, there is no one more important than you. Good friends are a huge rarity. I was not lucky enough to meet such people, but I was very lucky with you. I don't have friends either. They take away my work all the time. Or maybe I'm like that. A year passed. Tanya and Slava married quietly and began to live in her apartment. Slava opened a branch of his restaurant in their city. For happiness, you don't need much love and family. Slava brought home a homeless dog, which reminded him of how he himself was walking down the street. Tanya patted him on the shoulders. So that's how it is. The dog turned out to be a girl, and she was called Linda. The criminal authority, which barely killed Slava, went to prison and died there a few weeks later. The pandemic reached him too. They also imprisoned those guys who were involved in the kidnapping of Slava. Sergei and Vera often visited, not particularly subtly hinting that the grandchildren are already wanted. So this time, Sergei winked at her, saying goodbye to her at the door, and said that he was waiting for good news. Tanya herself did not know why she did not tell him. Probably she wanted to make sure. One positive test is not yet a reason to make everyone nervous. She decided that she would go to the hospital in 2 weeks, and when the fetus would be already visible on the ultrasound, then she would tell everyone. For now, she decided to be alone with her little secret. If you like the story, please support me with the thumbs up button. It is very important to me. Thank you.